In India, they have dating apps that are centered around matchmaking. So the matchmakers are now using algorithms and they do all this arranged marriage using AI, but there's still a social contract to it because it's your aunties and your mom that actually goes on that platform. I think they have it in China as well. I find that fascinating because I think there's a social contract. My brother was in a relationship that happened because my mom met a pretty lady on a flight and decided to link her with my brother. And I see how much they actually try to make it work compared to the ones that they would meet on a dating app. Just right.
Yeah, for sure.
Ibra, I'm wondering now, what surprises you the most, right? What's one thing men in another culture do in relationships that totally surprise you? Which cultural practices around love feel strange, refreshing, or even better than what you are used to?
That's a very tough one. It doesn't have to be like a positive, right? It could be something that I
Could be
consider
anything.
maybe I don't like or
Negative,
something.
positive, refreshing, better, strange, anything.
Oof, I can't think of anything right now to be. Do you have anything? Maybe
I'll start with one.
Yeah.
The one that surprised me and I found a little bit refreshing is that, for example, in Finland, right, silence is sacred. They don't do too much small talk, but they have these strong feelings for each other in peace and silence. So you can be the guy in Finland that go visit your girlfriend and you're there for days watching movies together, you eat, you just day together. You don't have to.
That sounds like
be funny.
Sounds like
you don't
I
have
should
to
be living in. What country is that? Finland.
Finland, yeah.
Bro, I should be fucking my shit on moving to Finland, man. That sounds a lot like me, man.
Yeah, that's one, right? That's one. I can go on. Yeah, there's a second one that I think Indians might not like it the most, but I think in the world today where you have all these dating apps that people pop in, have sex with each other, pop out, they don't really try to make anything work. In India, they have dating apps that are centered around matchmaking. So the matchmakers are now using algorithms and they do all this arranged marriage using AI, but there's still a social contract to it because it's your aunties and your mom that actually goes on that platform. I think they have it in China as well. I find that fascinating because I think there's a social contract. My brother was in a relationship that happened because my mom met a pretty lady on a flight and decided to link her with my brother. And I see how much they actually try to make it work compared to the ones that they would meet on a dating app. Just
yeah,
random.
for sure. I mean, we've discussed
especially
this before.
Into
Like,
this world. Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's also one thing that we've lost. That sort of made. But a lot of women will still argue differently. Like, and this goes back to the DNA thing with men and women that I was trying to explain. Like, we always see a lot of these things differently because a lot of men will argue with you like, that's actually quite something, right? That's like a sort of bounding contract that even though it's not written, it's like societal contract that makes you want to make things work. But a lot of women would argue that, because of that, I don't have to actually then tie myself down to anything. But that's never the point. It's the point that when you meet someone through a close circle or something, and that's how people used to meet people back then, right? It also leads to a lot of meaningful relationship where you try to make things work, right?
Exactly. I think it actually makes a difference. One last one before we move on.
Yeah. I'm still thinking of mine.
Keep thinking. This one surprised me, and it's like in France, there was in France basically, doing a DNA test I think was made illegal or something after a particular period.
That's
of time.
True.
And the reason behind this is that for French people, discretion is romantic. Now, the question is not whether cheating is right or wrong, but it can never be loud. So if you manage to cheat secretly and no one knows, they don't want to put in the extra effort to find out. So I hired a private investigator to find out if my husband was cheating or my wife was cheating. This is already going against the French way of doing it.
That's insane, bro.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think they also made the argument of not wanting to break up marriages or something.
The whole society. Like so now you're putting extra effort to destabilize society. That's how they interpret it. They're putting extra effort to establish society. Do you know if they're your kids or not? If you can't point to a guy just out of your dream and be certain that that guy actually slept with my wife when we had those kids, forget it.
They shut the fuck up.
She has done her job. It might be wrong that she cheated on her, but she did her job. She did it in a way that you couldn't know. That I found fascinating. Yeah, I found that very interesting.
I think one comes to mind now, but I think you might have to be the one to fully explain it, because we're talking about it, and I think you better explain it than I can. Is this thing is it China or Japan where there is this social point where on this app that you would have that people would then you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's China. It's China. It's one of their dating platform websites on China where basically they.
It's similar to the Indian
ratings.
one, but it's not really the
but
same.
now it's different because you have ratings, right? And you're going to be matched with people with similar ratings. But the people that decide your rating, it's just that everyone that looks at your profile, instead of just swiping right or left, they're also rating you. And the average is what your actual rating is. So this influences who sees you. Because, for example, all the algorithm that you have on Bumble and blah, blah, they do it anyways, but they do it in the background depending on the criteria that they choose, right? But now in China, some of these dating apps are doing it where it's actually the community or the area that you want people to see you. They're the ones that decide if you're good looking or not. And depending on the rating you get, that's the kind of matches that you'll be getting, which I find interesting. And it's very interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting to see how countries like Japan, like in Asia generally, the companies also participate in a lot of defining what social life should look like. And I say this because I find this interesting. I watched another video recently where they were talking about the fact that they're not giving birth a lot. And it's not the government that is now creating incentives for people to give birth. Companies are taking matters into their own hands. So I watched this guy, I think it's in South Korea, where he's basically saying, his wife's company is American, I think, and his wife is South Korean. His wife's company basically pays every person that gives birth within that company $100,000 to have a child, right? And they would give you 200,000 if your husband or if the wife, like if the two parents work in the company. So it's really per parent to be able to incentivize people to have children, because two things: they don't want to dilute their culture by going the Western route of opening up the country to immigration. So they want local people to actually give birth to more kids because they know that a few years down the line, they won't have employees to hire anymore.
I actually have one final thing, but I'll just briefly mention it because I think it might be part of what we'll still discuss during this episode. What I find interesting in like the West, for example, the men in marriage is the fact that a lot of quite successful people are still getting married. And I find that quite interesting because if I was a millionaire in dollars, I'm just going to live with someone, have kids, and do everything we can do in marriages. But I don't see the reason why I would then put this risk on my head. I think that for me, I still don't really understand why.